Want to see me review an amazing SpongeBob game? Want to see me do it again? Following the huge success of Rehydrated and the much-deserved praise that it rightfully earned from the SpongeBob fan community, as well as the outlets that didn't have cotton candy for brains, IGN and GameSpot, anticipation was sky high for the moment that THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios would announce their next SpongeBob game. However, there was silence for about a good year or so, leading people to speculate whether or not it was going to be another remake of the next Heavy Iron game in the lineup, this in case being the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game, or if it was going to be something entirely new altogether, and the first brand new game in the series in 7 years. Then, finally, on September 17th of 2021, at the very end of THQ Nordic's fantastic 10th anniversary gaming showcase, we got our answer. As they officially unveiled a trailer announcing not another remake, but instead a brand new installment in the Sponge's gaming legacy known as SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake. And even more exciting, it was officially revealed as a spiritual sequel to the beloved Battle for Bikini Bottom. Yes, after nearly 20 years, the cult classic was getting a proper follow-up, and Purple Lamp Studios was getting the opportunity to go all out. And after loads of hype and trailers, SpongeBob SquarePants: The Cosmic Shake was released on January 23rd of this year, 2023, on last-gen systems to another bonehead review from 7GN, but also a ton of praise from the likes of Power Limited, Kotaku, Destructoid, Nintendo Life, Shack News, and YouTubers such as AntDude, CMB Extra, Game Explain, Retro Rebound, Sayu, or Kagi Films, Choctopus, and even GameSpot, who yes, actually give it a fair review this time around. I know, it's a bloody miracle. And if that wasn't enough, on top of that, there was also an 8.2 Metacritic user score. Yes, I had to wait until February 6th to play it because my copy got here on the 2nd and my brother had the PlayStation for a while, but that's besides the point. But I can tell you right now that it's rightfully earned every single bit of that praise and more. And instead of trying to keep you in the trench of advanced darkness about my opinion, like I did with Rehydrated, I'm going to explain to you all right now why this is not only a great sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom, and one of the best games of the year so far, by a mile, but also why it's, in my opinion, the best SpongeBob game yet. Unlike my review of Rehydrated, since this game is entirely brand new and hasn't been out for over a decade, I will be keeping out most spoilers, so this section won't be nearly as long as last time. So without any further delay, let us dive right in. The story begins with SpongeBob and Patrick heading off to Glove World for a day of fun, but after being insulted by some nearby kids, SpongeBob feels completely disheartened and longing to be seen as cool by other people. After a cool cameo from the bomb robot from Battle for Bikini Bottom, the duo run into the mermaid named Madame Cassandra, who gives SpongeBob a vial of wish-granting mermaid tears to supposedly help lift his spirits. SpongeBob makes wish-granting bubbles from the mermaid's tears for all his friends as well as everyone else in Bikini Bottom, but after Patrick reveals they were the property of King Neptune and should never be used by mortals, the bubbles pop and rip apart the entire universe, or in this case, the Jellyverse as they call it. Now it's up to SpongeBob, with the help of Cassandra and his best friend Patrick, who's been transformed into a balloon because of his wish, to set everything back to normal and save his friends from all the wish worlds they got sucked into. Overall, the story, while a bit simple, is fantastic once again, with lots of great character dialogue, lots of charm, and a ton of laughs. This is also amplified by the return of the entire main SpongeBob cast, putting in 110% into their performances. Obviously, of course, except for Ornstein 9 and Tim Conway, who have passed away by this point. Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbacke, Roger Bumpus, Carolyn Lawrence, Mary Jo Catless, Mr. Doug Lawrence, D. Bradley Baker, Brian Doyle Murphy. For the first time ever in a SpongeBob game, Jill Talley as Karen and Lori Allen as Pearl, already getting rid of one of my biggest complaints from Rehydrated and the original Battle for Bikini Bottom. And the most significant of all, Clancy Brown as Mr. Krabs for the first time in 8 years. However, unlike BFBB before, it starts to falter toward the end. Well, actually, like BFBB, sorry. It starts to falter towards the end, and without spoiling anything, the ending is once again anticlimactic. But aside from those two nitpicks, the story and writing is top-notch once again. But now let's move on to the most vital part of any game, the gameplay. Like most SpongeBob console games, this is another 3D platformer. However, unlike its spiritual successor, Battle for Bikini Bottom, this one isn't nearly as much of a collect-a-thon. Yes, there's still things to collect, absolutely, but it's not really mandatory for progression this time around, thus I'm not really going to call it a collect-a-thon. Also, unlike BFBB, and more in the vein of Truth or Square of all things, SpongeBob himself is the only playable character this time around. However, in return for that, his moveset was greatly expanded to exponential levels. Yes, he doesn't have the uppercut, the cruise bubble, or the bubble bowl anymore, but in return he does have a bubble wand spin, a dodge roll, butt smash, a belly flop, a bubble throw, and most amazing of all, a glide with the help of the classic Krusty Krab pizza box straight out of Season 1's pizza delivery. Like, literally, it's the same pizza box, all the way down to every single detail of its design. And on top of all that, he can also catapult with his underwear, ride on seahorses, and a bunch of other things in certain sections of each level. Overall, SpongeBob's moveset is outstanding, and paired with the fantastic controls accelerates it to outright phenomenal. Seriously, SpongeBob's control in this game is perfect and 100% responsive. And if that wasn't already enough, they went the extra mile by adding in over 40 different costumes that you can unlock through both the campaign and the cosmic jelly that you collect throughout the game. Even more amazing is that almost every costume is directly from the show itself. Some of my favorites include SpongeBob from Season 5's Pests of the West, Flower from Season 3's Krabby Land, Goofy Goober from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, Opposite Day from Season 1's, Opposite Day, the Quickster from Season 3's Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5, the iconic band outfit from Season 2's Band Geeks, Knight from Season 4's Dunces and Dragons, and my personal favorite, the Goofy Goober Wizard, also from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Yes, that one, the exact one you're thinking of right now. Yes, 7 of them, including Opposite Day SpongeBob, are paid DLC, but there's still more than enough here to satisfy any fan of the series. Now with those out of the way, let's move on to the collectibles, which, unlike Rehydrated and the original for that, PFBB for that matter, are entirely optional. Like BFBB, there's only 3 types of collectibles in the game, but unlike that game, none of these are mandatory and are 100% optional. Which means none of them are going to halt your progress, and if you don't want to collect any of them, you absolutely don't have to. First up is the Cosmic Jelly. This game's a version of the shiny objects that are used to buy additional cosmic costumes in the shop, which can be accessed through both the hub and any time in any of the Wish Worlds via the pause menu, which you have no idea how useful and amazing that is. Second is the gold doubloons, which are scattered throughout the Wish Worlds that are both out in the open and very well hidden, and are used to unlock each tier of the costumes in the shop, because they're split up into tiers of sets of 5, and each set of 5 is a tier. It also gives a good incentive to backtrack later on, because there's no way to collect every single doubloon on the first run of each world, which, yes, is a good thing this time around, because it's completely optional. And finally, returning from Battle for Bikini Bottom, there's the golden spatulas, which are also hidden in all the different Wish Worlds. However, the spatulas themselves have absolutely no in-game value outside of an achievement, and do not change the gameplay or add any perks. Which I'll admit is a little disappointing, and does make me question why they're even in there in the first place. But since it's completely optional, and it doesn't hold gameplay progression this time, I'm gonna let it slide. Moving on from that is the level design, which is so incredibly unique and varied that it makes even Battle for Bikini Bottom look entirely insignificant in comparison. It is literally that incredible. So let's briefly talk about each one, and to avoid spoilers, I won't discuss any of the 5 bosses in the game outside of a brief mention at the very end during my overall thoughts. Let's dive in! First is the returning hub world of Bikini Bottom, which is a double-edged knight's blade. It's far more expanded this time around and is almost outright open world with its massive size, bucket load of side quests from a bunch of characters, and speaking of the characters, the litany of characters scattered throughout, including both the entire main cast of the show, as well as the most well-known background characters. But unfortunately, you can't explore the interiors this time, which is a huge bummer, because that was one of the best parts of Battle for Bikini Bottom. But aside from that one nitpick, this is still a great hub world that is fun to explore, especially when you get far enough to actually have the seahorse ride as transportation. Second is Wild West Jellyfish Fields, the first of the Wish Worlds and one of the best in the entire game. Excellent attention to detail, great amount of variety, lots of secrets, and ending on an awesome train chase. And Mr. Krabs is a crook. Well, a crooked bandit. Like, that is just so fitting, there is no words to describe it. Except for maybe Wumbo. Third is Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom, which is just like playing through an awesome action movie. It's literally exactly like that. A cool set design, a side-scrolling section that throws back to old-school beat-em-ups, a fun ending boss, and tons of super fun platforming. And Squidward as a director. That's just too fitting. Fourth is Pirate Goo Lagoon, which is an absolute blast. Jumping between even more pirate ships in Battle for Bikini Bottom, the swing hook sections, and the hunt for Dutchman's socks feeling like a genuine treasure hunt, and so much excellent level design throughout that's the perfect amount of challenging and perfectly fits the pirate theme. Yes, the final section is a glorified horde rush and pretty meh, but the rest of it is pretty great. And another cool thing I should point out here is that with the cosmic costume you do get, Pirate SpongeBob, where you have a peg leg, the sound design actually changes to fit the costume. Like, instead of having that squeak of SpongeBob's shoe, you get one squeak, and then you get something like that, to show that that's a peg leg and not it's a piece of wood and not his actual foot, which is a really great attention to detail. Fifth is Halloween Rock Bottom, which is the best level in terms of its pure atmosphere. Like, seriously, the atmosphere here is so good. Then add on to that the fun trick-or-treating section for candy bars, as well as a cameo from a certain fish you may or may not know. Yeah, that one. The short but awesome snail race with the return of Snail Bob from Season 1's I Was a Teenage Gary, the great little puzzle section with the hash-slinging slasher from Season 2's Graveyard Shift, and a very unique ending boss. Sixth is Prehistoric Kelp Forest, which, while definitely leagues better than the one in Battle for Bikini Bottom, is still unfortunately once again the weakest section in the whole game. It's still good, with its creative slides, unique platforms that add a nice variety, incredible fun, boulder rolling over lava, and probably the best boss fight in the entire game, but it still struggles a bit with a tedious jellyfish quest, one boulder rolling section that is so picky with when you need to dismount from the rock to actually make it to where you need to go and not die, is outright asinine. And its pace is so slow. Like, it's so slow. It's a very slow level. Again, it's still a good level, but compared to the rest of the pack here, it's the weakest part of the adventure. 7th is Medieval Sulphur Fields. One of the brand new areas added to the game, and probably my absolute favorite of the entire experience. The rainbow slide, the just challenging enough maze, scaling the castle from my all-time favorite episode in the entire SpongeBob series, Dunces and Dragons, the fantastic design and atmosphere, and so much variety that it's outright mind-blowing. Yes, the ending part is meh, but besides that, it's perfect and by far the high point of the game, and an already amazing game to begin with. And finally, there's the second new area from the show added after being left out in previous games, including Battle for Bikini Bottom, Glove World, or in this case, Jelly Glove World. Which is great to finally see implemented into a SpongeBob game that's not a Nickelodeon crossover game, but is admittedly pretty short. It's got fun games to play, great design, a fun final section, and a cute little ending, but it's definitely far too easy and is the shortest Wish World of the whole game. Overall though, the Wish Worlds are fantastic and incredibly fun to explore. And as for the boss fights, they're all quite fun, and aside from the super disappointing final boss, they're all incredibly replayable. And this amazing level design and fun to traverse through is helped by all the creative alternative versions we find of all of SpongeBob's friends. Like I already mentioned, the red-handed bandit from Wild West Jellyfish Fields for for Mr. Krabs. But there's also just so many other ones. And I can't name them all because that's a spoiler. But point is, it's great. And then, once again, there's all the references, which is somehow over 7 times more than Battle for Bikini Bottom. So picking out favorites this time was even harder than the last time, especially when some of them are outright spoilers. But I'm gonna try anyway. So here's some of my favorites from the 75 that I found throughout my playthrough that I haven't already yet mentioned. Fred saying the iconic "My Leg" line, just like he did in the Season 11 episode of the same name. Squidward painting Bold and Brash from Season 2's Artist Unknown in the opening cutscene. The addition of Plankton's pet Spot in his first ever game appearance, which is awesome to see. Cardboard cutouts of the anchovies from Season 2's I'm Your Biggest Fanatic in Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom. Sandy in her Kill Bill-esque attire from Season 4's Karate Island, which is not a spoiler because it was literally in the marketing. Advertisements of kelp shakes from Season 4's Best Frenemies. The exploding pie from Dying for Pie being shot out of cannons in Pirate Goo Lagoon. The fiery Fisto Pain from Season 8's Roller Cowards, as well as the Mitten from that same episode. And Patrick doing the iconic "Little from Season 2's Shanghai at the very end of Pirate Goo Lagoon. Moving on to the specs, specifically on PS4, which is again the version I'm using for this review, I'm going to keep this nice and brief. Good 60 FPS with minor stuttering here and there, 0 pop-in, 4K resolution, minor glitches here and there but nothing game-breaking, 0 crashes, and absolutely phenomenal graphics with gorgeous fluid animation. For $40, and especially compared to garbage like Forsaken that came out the same month, its performance is excellent. Not as great as Rehydrated, but still great. Overall, gameplay is outstanding. Loads of variety, excellent controls, gorgeous level design, tons of reference, and undeniable love and respect for its source material. All around corral! Yeah, I'm throwing in references too, shut up. My show. As if already being loaded with a great story and outstanding gameplay wasn't more than enough incentive to buy this game, it's then amplified even more by its instantly legendary soundtrack. The music in this game is so incredible and masterclass that once again, it achieves the impossible and actually makes the music from BFBB almost entirely obsolete in comparison. From the rollicking boot-stomping worthiness of Wild West Jellyfish Fields epic actionness of Karate Downtown Bikini Bottom, the unrelenting spookiness of Halloween Rock Bottom, and especially the adventurous medieval melodies of the medieval sulfur fields. It's all so perfect and so much fun to listen to. And if that wasn't already enough, THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios went the extra mile by actually getting the rights from Nickelodeon to also use 101 songs from SpongeBob's entire history. Sweet Victory, the Fun Song, Stadium Rave from Jellyfish Jam, Goofy Goober Rock, a bunch of the background music, the iconic Pirate Waltz, and so many more. Like, that is literally just naming a few. There's literally no documents online yet of every single licensed song from the show that's in this game. Overall, the music is masterclass and will please any SpongeBob fan with both its original soundtrack and a ton of music straight out of the show. Definitely no 62-cent hack job not found here. This section is going to be very brief because I literally only have one big problem with this game, and the rest that I've already pointed out are just nitpicks. My only big flaw with this entire game is the final boss and the ending. Again, I'm not showing you any pictures of this because no spoilers. But the final boss fight is the only bad part of this entire game. It's cool design-wise, but it's far too easy, way too short, and pales in comparison to Robo SpongeBob from Battle for Bikini Bottom. And while the ending itself isn't nearly as bad as the boss fight itself, it's still pretty underwhelming and ends on a very anticlimactic cliffhanger. Again, just like Battle for Bikini Bottom. But that's literally my only big flaw with this game, and the rest are just nitpicks that in the grand scheme of things is quite insignificant. So if I haven't already made it clear throughout this entire review, I absolutely adore this game, and it's absolutely worth every single penny of its $40 price tag. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake is a near-flawless masterpiece of not just a 3D platformer, not just as the first brand new SpongeBob game in almost 10 years, not just as a licensed game, but as a video game overall, period. Fantastic level design, excellent story, sharp writing, superb voice acting from the entire main cast of the show, tons of variety, unfathomable amount of references, masterclass soundtrack, mostly great boss fights, gorgeous graphics, very good performance, over 15 hours worth of content, especially if you're going for 100% completion. So many costumes, high replayability, a perfect price at $40, and most importantly of all, an unmistakable love for the IP and respect for both its legacy and its fan base, with care, effort, and passion oozing out of every single one of its spongy holes. Yes, it ends on a pretty disappointing note, but that's a small price to pay for a masterpiece that sets a brand new high standard for both SpongeBob games and all licensed games and 3D platformers going forward. The final verdict for SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake is a perfect and sponge-tastic 11 out of 10. Purple Lamp, with the help of THQ Nordic, has created a masterpiece of a video game that did the impossible, not only rising to the same quality of Battle for Bikini Bottom, but actually surpassing it in almost every single way possible. And it's going to take a real dark horse game to dethrone this from my top of my year-end best games list. Go out and buy this game now! And with that, SpongeBob Month 3 has finally concluded, and this is the end of our journey with the pre-movie area. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, etc. Do all that algorithmic garbage to help the channel grow. And I'll see you all next month for the long-awaited return of a certain, other cartoon. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the wonderful world of Paris. 25.